And I just realized I made a mistake in the previous video where I said exact exit time is seconds. It's not in seconds, it's in the cycle of it's basically how many times the animation should play, as you can see here. So this is a little preview for you that if I put 5 here, then it's going to play the idle animation 5 times before it goes to the next animation. Right, so it's not seconds, but normalized time for the duration of the animation. So if I put this to 0.5, it's going to play half of that the idle animation, and then goes to the walk animation. Obviously, I can sort of trick it that way as well. But anyways, so that's the exit time condition. Now, what we'd like to do is start using different conditions that are a little bit more intelligent. And as you can see that right now you only have this exit time condition, but once we start adding parameters into the system, and currently there are 4 different types of parameters you can add to the animator, these are going to show up in the conditions panel, and you can use that to do some logic to decide when you're going to transition into which state. So for example, we're going to do a quick example of this, going from the idle state to the walk state, and we want to check the speed the player is moving and use that to decide if we should transition. A float parameter, and that's going to be, let's call that speed, and let's click on idle, click on this transition, and instead of exit time, let's go speed, and when the speed is greater than 0.1, then we'll transition to the walk animation. And similarly, let's right click on the walk animation, make transition, go back to idle, and click on the transition, and what we want to do is set the condition to check the variable speed, and when it's less than 0.1, we are going to go back to the idle animation. Right, so these are set up, and they should be fairly intelligent, right? So all it needs to know is the value of, all we need to do is setting the value of the speed, and the animator is going to decide which animation to play for us. Okay, now the problem is the speed parameter is not being set yet. We don't have that logic in the game. So let's go back to Playmaker, click on the player. Let's go back to our move state. I'm going to close these down. Now from set velocity, we know that we're pushing the character left and right. So all we need to do is go to Action Browser. I want to get speed 2D. Let's put it down there. So we'll know the speed of the character regardless of the direction. Right? Regardless of the direction that the character is moving, we'll get the speed. And let's define a variable. Let's call this speed again. And let's store the speed of the character to the speed variable. And then we want to set the animator parameter to use this value here. So let's do set animator float. Again, it's float because this parameter here is a float variable. So set animator float, parameter is speed, which is the name of the parameter here, and value, we were going to use this value here, which is the speed of the object. It's a little bit confusing, but maybe we'll change the variable name to something else. Let's do character or player speed. Okay. So again, get speed 2D. We'll get the speed of this player object, put it in player speed. We want to do this every frame. And then we want to set the parameter of this animator controller here to the player speed that we just found. Again, we want to do this every frame. Okay. Now, when we play this, now pay attention to this parameter here. It says connected, something is determining, something is setting this speed here. And when we move the character, you can see that down here the parameter is changing, right? The speed parameter is changing, and also the character is, when it's not moving, it's in idle state. When the speed is bigger than 0.1, it goes into the walk animation automatically. So that's pretty cool. Right, so we don't have to actually call this animation. We can just set the parameter and let the program determine that. So that's how you can set animations using these transitions and a float parameter to decide to sort of control the animation state.